At this hour, I'm Christina Aguayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has unveiled what he calls his new border security strategy while at a ranch outside of Eagle Pass, near where the state is building a new operating base that will hold up to 2,300 National Guard troops. Abbott's plan is to launch a billboard campaign south of the border to dissuade migrants from crossing illegally and paying cartels to smuggle them in. The billboards have messages on them like, "How much did you pay to have your daughter raped?" and "Your wife and daughter will pay for their trip with their bodies." They will be put up in Mexico and Central America and will be in multiple languages like Spanish, Arabic, Russian, and Chinese. Abbott saying the billboards are a dose of tough medicine that will warn migrants that they will be arrested and thrown in jail if they cross illegally into Texas, and Trump will make sure they are deported after they're arrested. According to ICE, of the 270 illegal migrants deported this year, more than 88,000 of them had criminal histories, including more than tens of thousands guilty of sex crimes and 235 terrorists. A fiasco at the southern border as Joe Biden's plan to sneak border wall panels out of the state of Texas into Arizona and sell them off for pennies on the dollar was discovered, prompting Attorney General Ken Paxton to file a motion with the court forcing the Biden administration to stop the auction on the very day it was supposed to take place. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick saying that after they found out about the auction, the state decided to purchase the already paid-for border wall panels and give them to President Trump to finish the wall once he takes office. However, when officials traveled to the auction site on December 18th, they were told by the auctioneer that the whole thing had been called off. This came 2 days after President Trump said during a news conference at Mar-a-Lago that Biden needed to stop what he was doing, adding that it may be criminal. A day before that, on the 17th, Paxton filed a motion with the court to intervene and prevent any sections of the wall from being sold illegally, asking the court to force Biden to adhere to a previous court ruling that said taxpayer funds that were approved to be used on the border wall construction cannot be illegally redirected. Paxton saying, quote, "I will do everything in my power to prevent any acts of sabotage by the outgoing administration." Luigi Mangione, the man being charged in the assassination-style murder of UnitedHealthCare CEO Brian Thompson, is now facing federal charges, including murder. The 26-year-old is now in New York after waiving extradition in a Thursday hearing in Pennsylvania. He was immediately flown to the Big Apple, where he's being charged with multiple felonies on a state level, including first- and second-degree murder. According to an unsealed criminal complaint, the Ivy League grad's federal charges include murder, stalking, and weapons offenses. One of the federal charges, murder by firearm, could bring the possibility of the death penalty. Luigi Mangione is now in New York after waiving extradition in a Thursday court hearing in Pennsylvania. The 26-year-old is facing numerous felony charges in the Big Apple, including 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The Ivy League grad was also hit with federal charges, including 2 counts of stalking, murder through the use of a firearm, and firearms offenses. The stalking charges focus on how Mangione allegedly crossed state lines with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, and surveil Brian Thompson. The complaint details the contents of a notebook that Mangione had in his possession when he was arrested, including, quote, several handwritten pages that express hostility toward the health insurance industry and wealthy executives in particular. According to the complaint, an entry on August 15th said, quote, "The details are finally coming together and that the target is insurance because it checks every box." On October 22nd, it said, 1.5 months. This investor conference is a true windfall. A little later, the intent to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies was written. In a letter addressed to the feds, Mangione allegedly wrote, "I wasn't working with anyone," and said his actions were, quote, self-funded. President Donald Trump is responding after a Georgia Court of Appeals kicked Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis off the 2020 election interference case. President Trump cheering the decision, saying the corrupt Willis and her team is entirely dead and that the wonderful patriots who have been caught up in this for years should receive an apology. The 3-judge panel ruled that Willis should be disqualified because of the romantic relationship she had with prosecutor Nathan Wade after a lower court judge ruled that Wade had to leave the case, but Willis could continue her prosecution. The appeals court disagreed, arguing that her relationship with Wade gave the appearance of impropriety, and no other remedy besides disqualifying her will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings. Investigators in Baltimore County are looking into whether a shooting and car crash that left one person dead and 9 injured Tuesday night are connected to a nearby homicide earlier this month. Officials say all 10 of the victims were found inside of a flipped vehicle that burst into flames after crashing. A Texas judge has refused to throw out criminal charges accusing the former Uvalde Schools police chief of endangering children in the slow law enforcement response to the 2022 Robb Elementary shooting. The ruling comes 6 months after an indictment accused P. Arredondo of ignoring his active shooter response training and delaying the police response as nearly 400 officers waited more than an hour to confront and kill the gunman. Arredondo has pleaded not guilty, saying he was improperly charged and that the shooter was responsible for putting the victims in danger. An Oklahoma man has been executed for killing a 10-year-old girl in a cannibalistic fantasy. 45-year-old Kevin Ray Underwood was pronounced dead at 10:14 a.m. Thursday at the state penitentiary in McAllister. It was the 25th and final U.S. execution of 2024. Underwood killed Jamie Rose Bolin in 2006. He admitted to luring Jamie into his apartment and beating her over the head with a cutting board before suffocating her to death. Underwood told investigators that he nearly beheaded the girl in his bathtub before abandoning his plans to eat her. Immigration in 2024 drove U.S. population growth to its fastest rate in 23 years as the nation surpassed 340 million residents. The U.S. Census Bureau said Thursday that the growth rate this year was the highest it has been since 2001, and it was a marked contrast to the record low of 0.2% set in 2021. At the height of the pandemic restrictions on travel to the United States. Immigration this year increased by 2.8 million people. However, some experts believe the number is much higher. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina, Aguayo, Salem News Channel.